Hey, good morning. Welcome back here on the Area Sports Roundup on KDUZ and our Catchin KARP Outdoors segment on our podcast here as we welcome back a familiar voice to listeners here. He's now the Mcleod County Parks and Recreation Manager, Jon Carrigan. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Joel. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very well here. Nice to chat with you again. And boy, it's been few months now, so you should be settled into your new job, correct?
But let's see. I started April 5th, so April, May, June, 2.5 months into it. So yeah, settling in. Yeah.
For those folks that heard you for years, I mean, they know some of your background here, but just focus on your outdoors background, because maybe what people don't realize is that you do have a background in a lot of the stuff that you're doing right now with Mcleod County.
Yeah, since I met my wife, camping was something I always wanted to do, but never really did. Ran around. But my wife's family camps, so I started doing a lot of camping. We started with a tent, went to a pop-up, actually 2 pop-ups, and we're on our 3rd camper right now. So we try to camp as much as we can. Probably typically in a year, 8 or 9 times we get out. Mm-hmm. Anything from county parks to private campgrounds, state parks. We do a lot of state parks too. So we've done that for 27, 28 years. When I was a kid, used to do a lot of hunting. Kind of got out of that, started chasing girls and doing other things. Got back into that probably 15 years ago. Actually have 2 bird dogs right now. I have an English pointer and an English setter. Love working with dogs and love doing the outdoor stuff, the hunting, the walking through the field, looking for pheasants. I've done a little grouse hunting over the last couple of years, managed to get that in here once or twice, and it's a lot of fun. Being in the outdoors, especially that time of year, you're talking, October. The weather's beautiful in Minnesota. You catch those nice days, and you're out there just enjoying the great outdoors. Also have done a fair amount of fishing. I don't have a boat. Don't go out after the big stuff like you do. I don't do walleyes and northerns. My fishing has been mostly taking the kids out when they were younger. We still fish, but when kids are young, you want action. You want the fish to bite, because if the fish are not biting, the kids get bored real quick. So I made sure we went someplace where you catch panfish, usually smaller, so you just toss them back and let them go, catch and release the whole way through. So a lot of outdoor stuff, especially once I started having kids, did a lot more of that stuff. Tried to go out hiking, gone out west, camped in Colorado, Yellowstone National Park, things like that, and really, really enjoy the camping aspect of things. The best part of the camping, aside from the sightseeing, is having that campfire at night, sitting around the fire and just having family time, and it works out really well. So I guess with that background of your outdoors, I mean, when this position opened up here for Mcleod County, that it interested you because you maybe were a little bit more familiar with that than other positions. Yes, it is. It's worked out very well. The interest was high right away. I knew the position was coming open before. I knew the guy that was in my position, Al Coughlin. I've known him for about 25 years, probably. Great guy. I had talked to him. I'd heard rumblings that he was thinking about retiring. Had talked to him shortly after I left the station, and he told me that's coming up this year he was going to be retiring. I thought it was going to be more like April, May, June, but first of the year he decided to retire. And good for him. He's enjoying life. I just ran into him the other day and talked to him for a little while, and he's enjoying retirement, which is fantastic for him. Also pretty familiar with Mcleod County parks. I have been before I got the position, I had been in every park except one that I wasn't familiar with, and that was William May over by Winstead. For the position, I ended up going out and touring all the parks a couple of times in the application process, because there were some things I had to write up to as part of the application. Mm-hmm. So I went out and saw them all. But like I said, William May was the only one I hadn't been into that point. We have camped at Lake Marion and at Piepenburg every year. A couple of times at Lake Marion every year, and for sure once at Piepenburg, sometimes twice. So I'm very familiar with those parks. Also, had gone out in the parks in the wintertime, with the dogs, and done some hiking and whatever, things like that. So pretty familiar with all the parks. Very interested in the position and very interested in the outdoors aspect of it. So, yeah, I was pretty excited when that position came open and I was able to apply for it.
So tell us a little bit about the position here. What are some of the duties? What do you oversee in the Mcleod County Parks Department?
My position, actually, the county has just gone through kind of a restructuring as far as the flow chart. The position I have, I oversee all 6 Mcleod County parks. So it's William May, as I mentioned, Buffalo Creek in Glencoe, Swan Lake by Silver Lake, also Lake Marion Regional Park, and Piepenburg Regional Park, and Stalls Lake. In addition to that, I also am in charge of the fairgrounds, Mcleod County Fairgrounds, and the Dakota Rail Trail, which I haven't really dug into yet. Plan probably later this summer, early fall, to take a better look at that and see what that's all about. And I'm also the go-between the county and the Extension Office and the 4-H program. I don't really deal with what they are doing, but they're in the same office as us, so they kind of fall under me. So,
sure. As far as the transition now, because you mentioned it's been a few months here for you. How is that transition? Are you getting more acclimated with all the different things you got to do?
Yeah, the one thing that people ask me about that, how's the job going? Great. The position was open for basically January, February, and all of March before I got the job. So I came into it without anybody showing me what's going on, in the parks, what duties are, what you have to deal with, which was absolutely fine with me. What could be nice to have somebody show you around. I wanted to come in, as I've said before, like a naked baby, not knowing what's going on, so I could ask questions, and then not have a tainted view of things. We do it this way because I want to ask questions, find out, and then throw some ideas out and see what happens. So that process is kind of ongoing. I've done a lot with the parks, learning more and more about the infrastructure, I guess, as far as what's going on out there. And the fairgrounds, my office is at the fairgrounds, so I'm getting more and more used to what's going on out there. Fairgrounds in Mcleod County and Hutchinson, busy. I mean, it is amazing the number of people that come through there during the week. And typically every weekend there's 4 or 5 events going on at the Mcleod County Fairgrounds, graduations, weddings, whatever it happens to be. Aside from the big events, the fair and the Alice Chalmers show. In the past, NTPA Power Pole has been out there and things like that. So that's all yet to come. But on a daily basis, there are people out there having lunch under the pavilion, walking their dog, whatever. Inside the commercial building, well, basketball, volleyball,
sure,
tennis, all takes place in there. Pickleball has exploded. In the wintertime, you've got people in there playing pickleball all the time. So the fairgrounds is a busy place. So everything's coming together. You're learning as you go.
Sure. When you were learning about everything here, what do you like about what's going on right now?
What's going on right now? The one thing, as I went through a lot of this stuff, Mcleod County has a nice park system. The 6 parks needed a little bit of maintenance work, but there's a lot of hiking trails. I think it's 571 acres total parkland in Mcleod County. And right now, right around 8 miles of hiking as it's staked out. Now, depending upon the trails you take and how you take them, you can get more than 8 miles if you want to. I mean, because there's shoots off here, left, right, and whatever in some of the parks. So I'm finding that the park system, it is utilized a lot, even in the winter. In the past, the parks have been closed down. We are looking really hard at keeping them open all winter long because people are using them in the winter also. But there's a lot of activity in the parks, even with the gates being closed in the winter. When I was out touring them, it was wintertime, and there were people in the parks checking things out. The parks that didn't have people in it, I saw footsteps, tracks in the snow. I saw cross-country ski tracks. People are out there using them. The ultimate goal is to get more people out there using them all year round, so that's what we're hoping to do.
Speaking of use, and I know you haven't been in your position for the last 18 months of the pandemic here, but what kinds of, how often is it being used? I know a lot of, for fishing and for outdoors and for hunting, there's been a jump in the last 18 months in the pandemic of people using the outdoors. How have you seen that for Mcleod County?
Well, I will tell you right now, the usage as far as camping at Peepenburg and Lake Marion is crazy. We have people, this week I've taken 3 or 4 calls with people looking for campsites this weekend. You're not going to find one. They're pretty booked up. You have to go out. There's a lot of people that have taken up camping in the last year during the pandemic. I mean, camper sales went through the roof last year. So a lot of first-timers, a lot of new people to it, and they are having trouble finding, campsites. It's just full. Every place is full. So with the pandemic, there's been more park usage as far as camping goes. And we don't have counters on the trails or anything, but I do know that the usage is up during the pandemic, especially last year, just because people were looking for things to do. You couldn't go to the movies. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go to the mall. You couldn't go out to eat. So a lot of people were out doing park stuff. They're taking hikes, taking the dog for a walk out there, whatever it happens to be. So the park usage, I would have to think, like I said, there's no numbers to back it up. Would have to think has increased greatly in the last, year and a half. So the other part of it is camping for a little while last year. For a while, they weren't going to allow it. They started allowing it early summer, late spring, whatever it was. But then there was precautions you had to do, the sanitizing and the 6-foot distance deal. The way the campsites are set up, though, you're not right on top of the camper next to you. You definitely have plenty of room from one camper to the next. So you're not going to be in physical contact with people unless you really, want to be.
Sure.
So, but now that things are, less restricted, it's getting more and more back to normal. So,
is it a lot of local people? I guess maybe the campgrounds maybe more would be more regional and tourist coming into camp. But is it a lot the rest of the stuff more local people using the parks?
The campers are from all over. The parks, as far as the 4-day parks, I would think would be more local people. Usually if I'm in a park and I see somebody, I'll stop and talk to them for a little bit to see what's going on. And they tend to be locals that know the park is there, and they'll go and use it. I have found that for the county parks or for the campgrounds, it seems like there's a lot of local people that are camping in them, but a lot of people from southern Minnesota are coming this way to Mcleod County. So if you live way in southern Minnesota and you're thinking about going north, here in Mcleod County, if you think about going north, you're thinking, Brainerd, Alexandria, Duluth, whatever happens to be. For them, we're kind of the edge of the North Country because we have lakes. We start to get more and more lakes as you head farther north, So a lot of people from southern Minnesota will come up and use the campgrounds. The other parks, like I said, until you really do some kind of a survey or whatever it is, you don't know really where they're from unless you talk to them. But the people I've talked to have been mostly local.
Looking into the future now, what are some of the things you like to improve on? You like to work on here in the upcoming years?
Well, we continue with some park maintenance issues. I shouldn't say issues, projects. There's a lot of things that as soon as I came in, I looked at it and said, well, we need to change or clean up, get it so it looks nicer in the parks. Right now, we've been concentrating more on Lake Marion and Peepenburg because they have more park usage with the campgrounds being there. We have cleaned up and expanded the beaches a little bit, not with changing anything on the shoreline, just making sure the sand is out where it can be as far as it can go. The hiking trails, I'd like to improve on the hiking trails and add more. The parks are, we'll take William May, for example, in Winstead. When I was walking around that in the wintertime, one hiking trail looping through the whole thing. It's kind of an old growth forest. There's not a lot of undergrowth. I saw footsteps and I saw cross-country skis, on the main trail. Also going through the woods, I saw cross-country skis where they had gone off the trail and went through there. And I would like to expand to give them more opportunities to go in other places rather than just that main trail to get off there and use the full park. And all the parks are kind of set up that way where there could be more trails. Lake Marion and Peepenburg have more fingers on the trails where you can go out. The smaller parks tend to be one trail, with the exception of Swan Lake. in Silver Lake. That particular park, I never had hiked the whole trail, so I had hiked the whole trail coming in. It's I call it the hidden gem when it comes to hiking, because when you go back to the north through, it goes way back there. You know where the shelter is, and there's the fishing pier across on the lake. But if you take that trail and go way back there, it's probably a little over a mile. You can make it longer by going off on another trail, but you're going through a row of trees, opens up to kind of a prairie with a duck pond in it. Then all of a sudden there's a bunch of pine trees. You get beyond that, you'll find aspen and birch back there. It's like you're walking up north along Duluth someplace on a trail, and you end up looping back around to the west side, and you're walking on a trail that's covered by pine trees. It's like something from a postcard almost. It's totally different. So that's a hidden gem back there. If people are into hiking and taking walks and enjoying nature, I can't wait to see that thing in the fall when the leaves start to change, because I think it's going to be a really pretty hike. All the parks I'm looking at, I would like to see more options in hiking trails. Stalls Lake has got quite a few options because they've got cross-country skiing, hiking, and there's bike trails out there for mountain bikes. If you want to go on those, don't use that when it's wet or muddy because you tear it up. So when it's dry, you can go out there. There is an open field of grass to the west of that, some prairie land, and to the north across the road also. There are trails on the one to the west. The one on the north side of the road, that is freshly planted with prairie grass and flowers. I think last year was the first year that grew. So I think next year that's scheduled for a burn. Then after that, we'll look at cutting some hiking trails in there too. So there's opportunities to do a lot of walking, getting out and enjoying nature. And I want to expand on that.
Sure.
Do whatever you can to get more people to come out and enjoy the parks.
We're just about out of time, and I'm sure if folks have a question or concern or an idea or just want to say hi, I'm sure you've got many ways to get in touch with you.
No, I don't want you calling me. No, there are several, and I'm 100% open to ideas. That's one of the first things I told the people that work with me. I said, it's not a closed door. If you got an idea, I want to hear it. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe we won't do it. It might be a yes, might be a no, it might be a maybe, but I'll come back to you after the maybe, after I do a little research into finding out the feasibility or if it's something we really want to do, if people want to do it. So you can call me directly at my office, 320-484-4307. My email address is one of those county addresses. So it's Jon.Carrigan at co.mcleod.mn.us. It's hard to remember that email address. Just Google search Mcleod County Parks, and you'll get to a website, and you'll find it right there. If you're looking for the parks, go to the tab. I believe it's Doing Business, or Doing Business As is the tab. That's where the park stuff is located. Just want to mention quickly, don't forget that in Mcleod County, they've got, of the 6 parks, 4 have fishing opportunities. Joel, you like to fish?
I certainly do, yes.
Stalls Lake is the one I used to take my kids to all the time, the channel right there. That's where you catch the little fish and you let them get back in. Keeps the kids busy. 3 of the parks have piers that you can go fishing off of, Piepenburg, Lake Marion, and also Swan Lake. The Swan Lake Pier is by the landing. The landing is technically in the park. So there's a pier right there that you can fish off. And there's some shoreline opportunities there as well. So if people like to fish, but you don't have a boat, it's a great opportunity locally to run the kids out there and have some fun. Wet a line, right?
So, sounds good. Yeah. Well, we will chat again then, and we'll get updates then.
Hopefully next year, Joel will get me back in. We'll have some changes to talk about. How's that sound?
That sounds good to me. Jon Carrigan, the new Mcleod County Parks and Rec Manager on Catchin KARP Outdoors.
Catchin KARP Outdoors has been a presentation of KDUZ, KARP, KGLB Radio, and the Ingstad, Minnesota Radio Network. Check out all our past episodes on YouTube.